Good morning. It's the next day yet again. 180 drove fine to dinner, no issues, no oil leaks, which is good. The front bar, however, is basically falling off because it has no Rio. So I'm going to go driving with Jesse tonight. So what I'm going to do is make a little front bar mount. I've just gone and got some little bits and pieces from Agro Gardens. I'm going to make a little front bar mount so the front bar is not just held on by zip ties. And then I'm going to put rear camber arms and rear toe arms in it so I can straighten the wheels up. Otherwise I'll just be killing tyres straight away. And then I'm going to put a boost tee on it. Wind it up to maybe like 12 pounds, still standard ECU. And then other than that, that's probably all I'm going to do today. It's probably going to take quite a lot of time. Seeing as the camber arms and toe arms are stock, so the bolts are probably going to be seized in there sick. All right, let's get into it. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Small issue, Ollie. This thing's got high cast. So I can put the camber arms in, but I can't put the rear toe arms in because it doesn't have toe arms. So I'm going to need to buy a Hiker lock bar and delete all the Hikers out of this car. Sick. The handbrake also doesn't work at all, but it looks like it might have had Project Mu pads, or still do, and they're like 80 years old, so I might try and pull that caliper off because it looks like it's not really touching that well. Clean up the rotor and see if I can do something about the pads to get that handbrake to work. Alright, let's change these camber arms. Okay, so on the endeavours of changing the camber arm, which is pretty good, I've realised that the brake caliper is slightly cooked. Does actually, I think, have Project Mu pads in it. I'm going to have to research that part number because I can't see any actual writing on it. But this one's actually been touching the whole time and it's gotten very hot. And that's because this sleeve here is actually seized. So I'm going to try and unseize that and then put it all back together and hopefully the handbrake will start working. Okay, so after I lit the caliper bracket on fire for about half an hour to get it real hot, I used this random bit of steel I had here and smashed the back of the pin with a hammer for about another half an hour. And I got it out. It was bent to shit, but I got it out. So then I just sanded the pin up and slid it back and forth in there to try to clean everything up. I've just been spraying it with WD-40. And then the pin was slightly bent, so I slid it back inside the caliper bracket and smashed it with a hammer and good to go. So I'll clean this up. The thread looks a bit cooked, but I'll put it back in and grease it up. Should work. Alright, car's back on the ground. I've just adjusted the camber out so it looks basically eye aligned okay, and then I've just adjusted the rear Hikus arms, which is kind of cool because they are adjustable, to just even out the toe. So I think it's pretty good to go now. Just put the boost tee on it and then we'll start heading down to Osaka. Alright, let's do it. Hello. Okay, so we have a misfire as the car gets warmer and starts to get on boost. It starts to miss, so I'm starting to pull the car apart to try to diagnose that. And so far this is what I found. Fuel pump ground wire is just twisted and taped together, so I suppose I'll start pulling stuff apart. Updates. I'm tired of shit. So, found a few small issues with the car, nothing major. Basically, I've come down to the conclusion that you can start the car and drive it. Drives totally fine. Doesn't make heaps of boost. Doesn't matter what I do with the boost tee, it just still will not make boost. And I think that's because it has an incredibly small dump pipe, possibly. Not too sure entirely yet. But I have disconnected the back line to let it just free boost. And it still only makes like £5. So yeah, that's not ideal. But yeah, I'm not going driving tonight, unfortunately, because I've got to fix this issue, so I'm going to get a good night's rest. And then we'll try again, maybe tomorrow. Will be worth it once we can do burnouts. I'm going to sleep. Good afternoon. So, I started working on the 180 again. I think I might have found the issue. Just pulled the fuel pump out. Getting to it was an absolute mission because the fuel tank top hat was silicon shut, so that was really nice. And I've just pulled the fuel pump out and the sock is legitimately just like clogged with black crap. I'll show you. Yeah, disgusting. So I'm going to put a new fuel pump in it and a new fuel filter and we'll see how we go. Okay, so small issue is that this fuel tank doesn't have a baffle in it, which it should, but really not too bad of an issue if I keep the tank full. So I've just gone down to Toshi's and he's given me a 255. I actually have one on the way, but I wanted to try to get this sorted tonight, so he said I could come down and grab it, which is sick. So I'm going to modify this now. I'm actually going to, what I usually do is I cut this off, and then it's just straight, and then I basically just zip tie that on there with a little bit of rubber to sort of stop it hitting on the metal. And then we'll put it in the car, and hopefully it'll fix our issue. Fuel filter doesn't arrive until tomorrow, so let's see how we go. Okay, new fuel pump's in. I should have filmed that process because it was really annoying. I had to scrape all the silicone out of where the O-ring seats. And then when I put the fuel pump in, it wasn't working. So I was like, oh, the fuel pump must be fucked. And then I pulled the fuel pump out and tested it and it was fine. And it ended up blowing the fuse. So I don't know at what stage that happened, but yeah. I'm going to go test the car now. We've done it. Just put the fuel pump in, tested the car, drives flawlessly. I've got some cheap China gauges in the car, so I've got some deffies here. Just need a couple more wires to rock up and then I can wire them in because the boost gauge isn't working, and then I can just wind the boost tee up to maybe 12 pound and I'll drive it at that. I am freaking exhausted, so I'm going to go to bed. Hope you've enjoyed this. Planning to drive Bahoku maybe tomorrow or Suzuka Twin the day after. Keep you guys in the loop.